Hello everyone. So this is my task in coping with the challenges of intercultural communication. My chosen country is the country of Italy. What did you know about Italy? Italy is a country in southern Europe that mainly consists of a large peninsula in the Mediterranean Sea with two major islands, Sicily and Sardinia. Its land neighbors France, Switzerland, Austria, and Slovenia to the north, with the Alps stretching across the northern border. Italy is home to the epicenter of the Roman Empire, the hub of Catholicism, and the birthplace of the Renaissance. Now, let's move on to the communication modes, practices, and styles of Italian culture. May we first tackle the types of communication that the Italy use. First is the verbal communication. Direct communication. Italians are typically direct communicators. They tend to be open about their emotions and speak clearly about their point. They generally expect similar honesty from their conversation partner, and hence they may fail to read into understatements. Therefore, avoid ambiguity and direct speech. Next is the communication style. Italians are generally quite open, inquisitive, and bold. Expect to be asked a lot about your life story and background. You may find that they are eager to give their opinions or advice on your activity. Avoid ignoring them or shutting down their questions and comments. This may lead them to see you as closed off or overly sensitive. Next is silence. Italians can grow uncomfortable with prolonged periods of silence and may naturally speak to fill it. Next is raised voices. Italians may speak in loud voices to make themselves heard over one another. A raised voice is not necessarily a sign of anger, but can be an expression of excitement or conviction. You may find people talk over one another in order to be heard. Humor. Italians often enjoy joking throughout conversation to lighten the mood. Having humor in one's voice can allow people to speak their mind quite openly. Be aware that their humor can be quite cynical, making fun of sensitive topics. They can also be quite self-depreciating, ironic, and sarcastic. Expect them to mock one another and slip sarcasm or double meanings into any topic of conversation. Last is the online communication. Some Italian may find online communication to be an impersonal form of interaction or a lazy way of maintaining a relationship. The older generation in particular may limit its use to helping organize further face-to-face interaction. This does not apply to the younger generations that are more involved in the digital world. Next is the non-verbal communication. Personal space. Italians generally keep a close proximity to one another, sometimes standing less than a meter away from the person they are talking to. While this distinction is not always noticeable, they may think you are avoiding them if you move farther away from what they consider to be normal. Physical contact. Italians are generally tactile people and quite affectionate. It is common to see hugging, kissing, backslapping, and hand-holding in public. People may touch their conversation partner to show their engagement in the discussion. Eye contact. Direct eye contact is expected and held during conversations. In some places in Italy, people may inadvertently stare out of curiosity. However, be aware that staring is generally considered rude and also represents an act of defiance if a person of low social status stares at someone higher than them. Next is expression. Italians are naturally more expressive in their tone of voice, facial expressions, and body language, often motioning with their hands to emphasize their point. This can sometimes seem theatrical. Expect many gestures to be used during communication and consider how much you use your own in comparison. Next is gestures. To rub one's thumb against the fingers indicates money. People may acknowledge the cleverness of another person by pulling down the bottom eyelid with a finger. People can gesture no by jerking their head upwards. Be aware this can look similar to a nod. Last is counting. Italians start counting with their thumb instead of their index finger. The thumb represents one and so on. Next is greetings. Italian greetings are usually warm and rather formal. The common greeting is a handshake with direct eye contact and a smile. If the greeting is between a man and a woman, the woman generally extends her hand first. People avoid shaking hands over the top of other people's hands. If someone has dirty or wet hands, they may apologize and simply nod. Older Italians prefer to be addressed in the polite form, using titles such as Signore in Mr. and Signora if Mrs. Now, let's move on to the etiquettes of the Italian culture. The following are the basic etiquette of Italian culture. It is common for Italian friends and families to kiss on the cheek when they meet irrespective of their gender. Stand up to respect when an older person enters the room. It is important to dress neatly and respectfully. Cover your mouth when yawning or sneezing. Hats should be removed indoors. It is impolite to remove one's shoes in front of others. Punctuality is not tight in social situations. In Italy, on time can mean 20, 30, or even 45 minutes late. Next is the visiting etiquette. It is common to visit friends, especially on Sundays and holidays. Italians from villages may visit each other unannounced. However, in the cities, people plan most social engagements to fit within schedules. Dinner guests often bring a gift of wine, chocolates, or flowers. If you are visiting somebody's house just before dinner time, it is expected you will stay for the meal. Make sure to compliment the cleanliness and decor of someone's home. Italian women often take great pride in the appearance of their houses. Next is eating. Italians generally wait for their hosts to sit before they do so and wait for them to indicate it is time to eat. Some Italians may pray and say grace before eating meal. It is improper to out one's hands on one's lap or to stretch one's arm while at the table. Breakfast is not a big deal in Italian culture and is sometimes skipped. Next is gift giving. Gifts are often opened in front of the giver when received. It is common for Italians to wrap gifts in decorative and beautiful wrapping. Avoid giving knives or scissors as gifts. These are considered bad luck. It is considered bad taste to clearly showcase how much was spent for a gift. Take care to remove or cover sticker price. Now, let's move on to the do's and don'ts of Italian culture. Do's. Take time to show some thoughtfulness and consideration regarding people's lives, no matter your familiarity with them. This is essential to fostering good relationships. It is taught to be brusque and blunt, to skip small talk and immediately discuss your topic of interest. Dress smartly and make sure you present yourself neatly. Italians tend to take a lot of pride in their appearance and typically look dapper for any kind of public outing. One doesn't need to dress conservatively, but casual attire is generally inappropriate in public and can make one seem unsophisticated. Allow concessions for friends where possible. Italians are generous with favors and slightly less tight about the use of their private property when it comes to those they have a good relationship with. They may borrow things or money and take a while to return the item or pay someone back. If you need an Italian to perform a task for you, ask for their help on a personal basis rather than emphasizing their duty to do it as something they owe you. Positioning favors as a form of reimbursement for previous actions that one is obligated to perform can seem impersonal or insensitive. Italians are typically more inclined to be motivated by appeals to their goodwill. Deliver sensitive news, feedback, or information tactfully. Italians are quite open and receptive to constructive criticism. However, don't let this lead you to think they are immune to offense. Now, may we move on to the don'ts of Italian culture. Avoid making generalized comments about Italian crime, corruption, the mafia, or Italy's involvement in World War II. Do not joke about the Catholic or the Pope when it the company of older Italians. The younger generations are often quite relaxed about these topics and open to depreciating humor, but it can seriously offend the elderly. Do not critique Italian foods or suggest ways it could be changed for improvement. Italians are deeply proud of their cuisine. Avoid criticizing the Italian culture, people, or nation. Though many Italians openly complain about their country or lament about how it is being ruled by current politicians, remember that they are still very proud of their homeland and its cultural contributions to the world. Avoid drawing or stereotypical ideas of Italian culture when making conversation. That's end my discussion about the culture of Italy, and I hope that you have learned something about it. Thank you.